The stars had always been beautiful to Kang Tae-ho. He had spent 15 years working for the South Korean Space Defense Division, watching satellites cross the night sky, tracking space debris, and dreaming of the day humanity would reach beyond Earth. But on that cold Tuesday morning, the stars brought death. Tae-ho was drinking his third cup of coffee when his screen flickered. 12 objects had appeared in Earth's orbit. They were not asteroids. They were not satellites. They were something else entirely. His hands trembled as he zoomed in on the images. The objects were ships. Massive, dark, and shaped like nothing humans had ever built. He reached for his phone to call his supervisor, but before he could dial, the first explosion lit up his screen. Seoul. His city. His home. A beam of blue light descended from the sky and turned 10 square kilometers into fire and ash. Tae-ho dropped his phone. His legs gave out, and he fell to his knees, watching as more beams struck the earth. New York, London, Beijing, Tokyo. One after another, the great cities of humanity burned. The attack lasted 6 hours. By the time the alien ships stopped firing, 800 million people were dead. Tae-ho sat alone in his monitoring station, surrounded by screens showing nothing but destruction. His wife had been in Seoul. His daughter had been at school. He did not cry. He was too shocked to cry. He simply stared at the flames and waited for his turn to die. But death did not come for him that day. 300 kilometers away, deep beneath the campus of Case University, Dr. Park Eun-bi was alive. The underground research bunker had protected her from the bombardment. She was a quantum physicist, a woman who had spent her life studying the smallest particles in the universe. Now she watched the largest disaster in human history unfold on a small emergency television. The aliens sent a message. It played on every surviving screen across the planet. A tall, gray-skinned creature with 4 eyes spoke in a cold, mechanical voice that had been translated into every human language. I am High Commander Torek of the Valari Empire. Your planet has been selected for cleansing. Your species is primitive and unworthy of the resources you occupy. Surrender your world immediately. Resistance is mathematically impossible. We have conquered 300 star systems. We have destroyed 10,000 species. You are nothing. You are insects beneath our feet. Surrender, and we will make your extinction quick. Resist, and we will make it slow. The message ended. Silence fell over the bunker. Eun-bi looked at the other survivors around her. Scientists, students, and a few security guards. They were all terrified. Some were crying. Some were praying. But Eun-bi felt something different growing inside her chest. It was not fear. It was not despair. It was anger. Pure, burning anger. They think we are insects, she said quietly. Let us show them what insects can do. Nobody responded. They were too broken to hope. But Eun-bi was already thinking. She was already planning. The aliens had technology far beyond anything humans possessed. But technology could be studied. Technology could be understood. Technology could be stolen. Above ground, the world's militaries attempted to fight back. Fighter jets from every nation rose to meet the alien threat. Missiles launched from submarines and ground bases. Warships opened fire with everything they had. The response was brave. It was heroic. It was completely useless. The alien ships swatted away humanity's weapons like a man brushing off flies. Missiles exploded harmlessly against invisible shields. Jets were vaporized by beams of light before they could get within firing range. In 2 hours, humanity lost 60% of its military power. Commander Torek watched the human resistance from his flagship. He had 4 eyes, and all 4 of them showed amusement. He had seen this before. Every species fought back at first. Every species believed they were special, that they were different, that they could somehow resist the might of the Valari Empire. And every species learned the same lesson. Resistance was futile. Amusing, Torek said to his second-in-command. They actually think they can hurt us. Should we destroy them completely, Commander? Not yet. Let them struggle a little longer. It is entertaining. Besides, the High Council wants this planet's resources intact. We will cleanse the major population centers, then land ground forces to eliminate the survivors. Standard procedure. Yes, Commander. Torek leaned back in his chair and smiled. This mission would be easy. Earth would fall within a week. He would be home in time for the harvest festival. What Torek did not understand was that humanity was different. Not because humans were stronger or smarter or more advanced. Humans were different because they had spent their entire history fighting. They had fought each other for land, for resources, for ideas, for survival. They had faced plagues that killed half their population and rebuilt. They had faced wars that destroyed entire continents and rebuilt. They had faced natural disasters that should have ended their species and rebuilt. Humans did not know how to surrender. It was not in their nature. In the ruins of Busan, a young sergeant named Bei Dong-soo pulled himself from the rubble. His unit was gone. His commanding officer was dead. But Dong-soo was alive, and he had a rifle in his hands. He did not know if bullets could hurt the aliens. He did not care. He was going to fight until his last breath. In an underground bunker in Gangwon province, General Cho Sung-jin was establishing contact with surviving military leaders across the world. He was the highest-ranking officer left in Korea. Now he was becoming the leader of something much larger. He was becoming the commander of the first unified human resistance. They hit us hard, Cho said to the faces on his screen. American, Chinese, Russian, European, African, South American, enemies and allies, all united by a common threat. They killed hundreds of millions of our people. They destroyed our cities. They think they have broken us. He paused and looked at each face. They are wrong. We are not broken. We are angry. And an angry humanity is the most dangerous thing in this universe. We will fight. We will learn. We will adapt. And we will make them regret the day they ever heard of Earth. In her bunker, Yoon-bi began studying the energy signatures from the alien weapons. Somewhere in those patterns was a weakness. She would find it. On his flagship, Torek ordered the second bombardment wave. He was certain the humans would surrender after one more round of destruction. He had never been more wrong in his life. The war for Earth had begun. And humanity was just getting started. 3 days passed since the first attack. The Valari believed they had won. Commander Torek sent a message to the High Council, reporting that Earth had been pacified. He requested ground forces to begin resource extraction. He even joked that this had been his easiest conquest yet. The ground forces arrived in massive transport ships. 10,000 Valari soldiers landed across the planet. They set up bases in the ruins of human cities. They planted their flags on human soil. They walked through the streets like they owned everything, because they believed they did. They did not notice the eyes watching them from the shadows. Captain Yoon-hana crouched behind a collapsed wall, studying the alien patrol through binoculars. She had been a combat pilot before the invasion. She had flown missions over the Pacific and trained with the best pilots in the world. Now her jet was destroyed, her squadron was dead, and she was hiding in the rubble of Incheon like a rat. But rats could bite. She watched the aliens for hours, noting their movements, their weapons, their behaviors. What she saw surprised her. The Valari were careless. They did not post guards at night. They did not check buildings before entering. They walked in straight lines without looking around. They acted like there was no threat. They have never fought anyone who fought back. She whispered to herself. They do not know how to be afraid. Hana crawled back to the resistance hideout, a basement beneath a destroyed shopping mall. 40 survivors had gathered there. Civilians and soldiers mixed together. They looked at her with hope in their eyes. The aliens are weak, she reported. Not in strength, not in technology, but in their minds. They have never faced enemies who refuse to die. They do not know what guerrilla warfare is. They do not know what ambush means. They think the war is over. An old man, a former army captain named Oh Jun-ho, nodded slowly. We can use this. We can hurt them. We can do more than hurt them. We can make them afraid. 400 kilometers south, in the cased bunker, Dr. Park Yoon-bi made her first breakthrough. A Valari scout ship had crashed during the invasion, brought down by lucky ground fire. Resistance fighters had recovered pieces of it and brought them to her laboratory. Yoon-bi had not slept in 3 days. Her eyes were red. Her hands shook from too much coffee. But her mind was sharp, sharper than it had ever been. She studied the alien technology piece by piece. Running tests, taking measurements, forming theories. The Valari shields operated on frequency cycles. Every 30 seconds, the shield shifted to a different energy frequency. If you timed it correctly, there was a tiny gap, a window of vulnerability. It lasted only half a second. But half a second was enough. "I can predict when their shields will be weak," she told General Cho through a secure communication line. "If we hit them at exactly the right moment, our weapons can penetrate." Cho's voice crackled through the speaker. "That is excellent news, Doctor. What else have you learned?" Yunbi smiled grimly. "Their biology is strange. They evolved on a planet with very different radiation than Earth. Certain wavelengths that are harmless to us are extremely toxic to them. Ultraviolet light, for example. Concentrated UV exposure can kill a Valari in minutes. Can we weaponize this?" Already working on it, the resistance grew every day. Survivors emerged from hiding. Soldiers who had scattered during the invasion regrouped. Civilians who had lost everything picked up weapons and joined the fight. General Cho established communication with resistance cells across the planet: America, Europe, Africa, Asia, South America. Every continent had fighters, every city had survivors. The general called a virtual meeting of resistance leaders from around the world. Faces appeared on screens, speaking different languages, united by translation software and shared hatred. "The aliens think they have won," Cho said. "They think we are animals waiting to be slaughtered. They are wrong. We are going to teach them what humanity truly is. We are going to teach them fear." He outlined his plan. Coordinated attacks across the globe. Information sharing. Technology exchange. A unified command structure with representatives from every nation. For the first time in history, humanity would fight as one species, one army, one fist. The leaders agreed. There was no argument, no politics, no old grudges. Those things seemed foolish now. The only thing that mattered was survival. Meanwhile, Sergeant Bei Dongsu led his small team through the ruins of Busan. They had been watching a Valari patrol for 2 days, learning their patterns. Tonight, they would attack. Dongsu was a simple man. He had joined the army because his father had been a soldier and his grandfather before that. He did not understand quantum physics or shield frequencies, but he understood war. He understood ambush. He understood that a knife in the dark could kill just as easily as a plasma beam. The Valari patrol walked through a narrow street between collapsed buildings. 6 soldiers, moving in a tight formation. Weapons relaxed. They were talking to each other in their strange language, probably complaining about the boring assignment. Dongsu raised his hand. His team stopped breathing. They waited. The aliens walked closer. 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 Now, the attack was brutal and fast. Dongsu's team dropped from the rooftops, knives in hand. The Valari were caught completely off guard. They tried to raise their weapons, but human hands were already on their throats. 3 aliens died before they could make a sound. The other 3 managed to scream, but screams did not save them. In 30 seconds, 6 Valari soldiers were dead. Dongsu looked at their bodies, breathing hard. Purple blood covered his hands. He had expected to feel sick. Instead, he felt satisfied. "They can die," he said. "They can die just like anything else." His team collected the alien weapons and disappeared into the night. News of the attack spread through the resistance network. For the first time since the invasion, humans had killed aliens on the ground. It was a small victory. 6 dead aliens against 800 million dead humans. But it was a start. On his flagship, Commander Torek received the report. His 4 eyes narrowed. Humans had killed his soldiers. With knives? Primitive weapons? Impossible. "It must be a mistake," he said. "Humans cannot fight. They are prey species. They have no claws, no fangs, no natural weapons." His advisor shifted uncomfortably. "Commander, the bodies were found. The wounds are disturbing. The humans attacked with extreme violence. Almost savage." Torek waved his hand dismissively. "An anomaly. Increase patrols. Kill any human who comes near our positions." But deep inside, a tiny seed of doubt had been planted. Torek pushed it away. He had conquered 300 worlds. He would not be frightened by primitive apes with knives. He should have listened to that doubt. In her bunker, Unbi finished her first prototype. A simple UV grenade, designed to flood an area with deadly radiation. Harmless to humans, fatal to Valari. She handed it to a resistance courier with simple instructions. Test it on them. Tell me what happens. The courier nodded and vanished into the tunnels. General Cho looked at his map. Red dots marked Valari positions. Blue dots marked resistance cells. The blue dots were growing. Every day, more fighters. Every day, more weapons. Every day, more hope. They gave us 3 days to surrender, he said quietly. They gave us time to organize, to plan, to prepare. Their arrogance will be their destruction. He picked up his radio and spoke to the entire resistance. Brothers and sisters, they think we are broken. They think we will bow. They do not understand us. We are humanity. We have survived ice ages, plagues, and world wars. We will survive this. And then we will make them pay for every life they have taken. Stay hidden. Stay patient. Our time is coming. Across the planet, resistance fighters heard his words and prepared for war. The calm before the storm was ending. 6 weeks after the invasion, the Valari controlled 40% of Earth's surface. But they controlled almost nothing. Every patrol was an ambush waiting to happen. Every base was surrounded by invisible enemies. Every road was lined with traps. The humans had vanished into the ruins. And they struck without warning, without mercy, without pause. Sergeant Bei Dongsu had become a legend among the resistance. His cell in Busan had killed over 300 Valari soldiers in 6 weeks. He had earned a new name among the fighters. They called him the Ghost of Busan. Tonight, he was hunting again. His team had grown from 8 to 50 fighters. They had weapons now, not just knives. Dr. Park Eun-bi had developed special ammunition, bullets coated with compounds toxic to Valari biology. What used to take a full magazine now took a single shot. Target spotted, whispered a young woman next to him. Her name was Kang So-hee, a former university student who had lost her entire family in the first attack. Now, she was one of his best snipers. Dongsu looked through his scope. A Valari supply convoy was moving down the highway. 6 ground vehicles carrying food, weapons, and equipment. 20 soldiers as escort. Easy targets. Wait for my signal, he said into his radio. Remember, hit them fast, take what we can, disappear. No heroes. No risks. We need you alive for the next fight. The convoy entered the kill zone. Dongsu counted silently. 3, 2, 1, fire. 50 weapons opened up at once. The lead vehicle exploded. Valari soldiers scrambled for cover, but there was no cover. Bullets rained down from rooftops, from windows, from holes in the ground. Purple blood sprayed across the concrete. The fight lasted 90 seconds. 20 Valari soldiers died. 0 human casualties. Dongsu's team grabbed everything they could carry and melted back into the ruins. By the time Valari reinforcements arrived, there was nothing left but bodies and burning vehicles. Far across the world, similar scenes played out every day. In the forests of Brazil, resistance fighters ambushed alien patrols with traps and poison darts. In the deserts of Africa, warriors who had hunted lions now hunted aliens. In the frozen north of Canada, soldiers turned the bitter cold into a weapon, attacking when Valari sensors were blinded by ice storms. Humanity was adapting, learning, evolving. In her underground laboratory, Dr. Park Eun-bi worked without rest. She had expanded her team to 40 scientists from 12 countries. They shared knowledge, combined expertise, and pushed the boundaries of what was possible. Her UV grenades had proven deadly. A single grenade could clear a room of Valari soldiers in seconds. But she wanted more. She wanted weapons that could hurt their ships, not just their soldiers. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Engineer Kim Yuri, a young woman who had designed solar panels before the invasion, discovered a way to weaponize alien power cells. The Valari used a type of plasma energy that was incredibly powerful but also incredibly unstable. With the right modifications, A captured Valari power cell could be turned into a bomb powerful enough to destroy a building. But Yuri did not stop there. She figured out how to build plasma weapons from scratch, using materials available on Earth combined with salvaged alien components. Within weeks, she had designed humanity's first plasma rifle. It is not as powerful as their weapons, she admitted, but it can pierce their armor. It can hurt them. General Cho immediately ordered mass production. Secret factories hidden in mines, caves, and underground bunkers began churning out weapons. Humans learned quickly. They always had. The Valari noticed the change. Suddenly, human resistance fighters were carrying weapons that actually hurt. Plasma bolts tore through Valari armor. Explosions destroyed Valari bases. The death toll among the occupation forces climbed higher every day. Commander Torek was no longer laughing. "How is this possible?" he demanded during a staff meeting. "These are primitives. They should not be able to reverse engineer our technology in weeks." His science officer, a thin Valari named Fen, looked nervous. "Commander, we have underestimated them. Their species has a unique ability to learn and adapt. Their brains are extremely flexible. They share knowledge rapidly through their communication networks, and they are motivated. We destroyed their cities. We killed their families. They should be broken." Fen shook his head slowly. "That is precisely the problem, Commander. We did not break them. We made them angry. And angry humans are dangerous." Torek slammed his fist on the table. "Then we will destroy them completely. Orbital bombardment. Kill everything. The High Council has forbidden it. They want the planet's resources intact. We are only allowed to use precision strikes." Torek's 4 eyes twitched with frustration. He was trapped. He could not use his ship's full power, and his ground forces were being slaughtered by creatures he had dismissed as insects. He sent a message to the High Council requesting reinforcements. The response was insulting. The Empire was engaged in more important campaigns elsewhere. Earth was a minor operation. Handle it with available resources. Torek was alone. Captain Yoon-ha no longer hid in basements. She had become the leader of the Korean Air Resistance, a network of pilots who had survived the invasion and rebuilt their forces from nothing. They did not have jets. Those were all destroyed. Instead, they had modified cargo planes, helicopters, and even civilian aircraft. They had mounted plasma weapons on crop dusters and machine guns on private planes. It was ridiculous. It was desperate. It worked. Hana led the first successful aerial attack on a Valari ground base. 12 modified aircraft descended on the base at dawn, when Valari sensors were weakest. Plasma bombs rained down on the enemy positions. 2,000 Valari soldiers died in 20 minutes. By the time the Valari ships responded, Hana and her pilots were gone, scattered across a dozen hidden airfields. Torek ordered orbital bombardment of the attack's origin point. His ships fired, destroying an empty field. The humans had already moved. 3 days later, Hana struck again. From a completely different location. Another Valari base destroyed. Another 1,000 enemies killed. Torek realized with growing horror that he could not predict where the humans would attack. They did not follow patterns. They did not use logic. They simply appeared, killed, and vanished. "They fight like animals," he muttered. "No. Worse. Animals can be predicted. These creatures are chaos." His advisor, Fen, spoke carefully. "Commander, I have been studying their history. Humans have been fighting each other for thousands of years. They have developed countless strategies for war, guerrilla tactics, asymmetric warfare, psychological operations. We have never faced anything like this. Why not? We have conquered 10,000 species. Because, Commander, every other species surrendered after the first bombardment. They saw our power and gave up hope. Humans are different. They see our power and it makes them angrier. It makes them fight harder. They do not calculate odds of victory. They simply refuse to lose." Torek stared at his advisor. For the first time, he felt something cold in his chest. Something unfamiliar. Fear. In General Cho's bunker, celebration was brief. Yes, they were winning small battles. Yes, They were killing aliens, but the enemy still held the sky. The Valari ships still orbited Earth, capable of destroying entire cities if they chose to ignore the High Council's restrictions. The general knew they needed something more, something that could threaten the ships themselves. Lieutenant Shin Hyun-woo, a young hacker who had survived the fall of Seoul, approached him with an idea. They had captured enough Valari communication equipment to understand the enemy's networks. With the right virus, they could attack the ships directly. It will not destroy them, Hyun-woo admitted, but it could disable them, blind them, make them vulnerable. Cho nodded slowly. Do it. Create your virus. When it is ready, we will use it. Hyun-woo saluted and left to begin his work. The general returned to his maps. Blue dots continued to multiply. Red dots continued to shrink. The tide was turning. Slowly, painfully, but unmistakably. Humanity was winning, but the true battle was yet to come. The Valari still held the high ground. Until humanity could challenge them in space, victory would remain incomplete. Cho began planning the impossible, taking the fight to the stars. 4 months after the invasion, General Cho Sung-jin launched Operation Phoenix. It was the largest coordinated military operation in human history. Every resistance cell on the planet received the same order at the same time. Attack. Attack everything. Attack everywhere. Attack now. The Valari woke to a world on fire. In Korea, Sergeant Bae Dong-soo led 1,000 fighters against the alien headquarters in what used to be Seoul. Plasma rifles and UV grenades turned the fortress into a death trap. Valari soldiers ran for their lives, but there was nowhere to run. Humans were everywhere. In America, resistance forces stormed the Valari base in Denver. In Europe, fighters liberated Paris, Berlin, and Rome in a single night. In Africa, warriors who had fought with spears and courage now fought with plasma weapons and fury. In South America, the jungles themselves seemed to come alive, swallowing alien soldiers whole. Within 72 hours, Valari ground forces were effectively destroyed. 60,000 alien soldiers died. Another 20,000 surrendered, something that had never happened in Valari history. The invaders had become prisoners. Commander Torek watched the disaster unfold from his flagship. His 4 eyes were wide with shock. This was impossible. This violated every rule of conquest. Primitive species did not fight back like this. They did not organize global offensives. They did not win. How? He whispered. How are they doing this? His screens showed images of human soldiers cheering in the ruins of alien bases. They were carrying Valari weapons, wearing Valari armor, driving Valari vehicles. They had stolen everything. They had learned everything. In 4 months, they had gone from helpless victims to a coordinated army. Torek grabbed his communication device. All ships, prepare for maximum bombardment. Forget the High Council's orders. We are going to burn this planet to ash. But before he could give the command, alarms screamed across his bridge. Commander, 3 of our ships have lost power. What? How? Unknown. Their systems are shutting down one by one. We cannot reach them. Lieutenant Shin Hyun-woo smiled in his underground bunker. His virus had worked perfectly. He had spent weeks studying Valari code, finding weaknesses, creating a digital weapon that could spread through their networks like a disease. Now 3 enemy warships were floating dead in orbit. Phase 2. Hyun-woo said to his team. Keep them blind. Keep them confused. Dr. Park Eun-bi had designed the virus's core. It attacked the Valari ship's navigation systems, weapons, controls, and life support. It did not destroy them. It paralyzed them. General Cho received confirmation that the first phase had succeeded. He immediately activated the second phase. Captain Yoon, he said through his radio. You are cleared for operation. Take the sky. Hana had been waiting for this moment. Over the past 4 months, she had gathered every pilot she could find. They had trained in simulators built from captured Valari technology. They had studied alien flight patterns and combat tactics. They were ready, but they did not have jets. They did not have spaceships. They had something better. One of the paralyzed Valari ships drifted in low orbit. Its shields were down. Its weapons were offline. Its crew was scrambling to regain control. Hana's team launched from a hidden base in the mountains, riding a modified rocket originally designed to carry satellites. It was a one-way trip. They would either capture the alien ship or die trying. The rocket pierced the atmosphere and approached the disabled vessel. Hana felt her heart pounding. She had never been in space before. The view was beautiful. Earth below, blue and green, scarred by alien attacks but still alive. Still fighting. Prepare for boarding, she ordered. They cut through the ship's hull with plasma torches and swarmed inside. The Valari crew tried to resist, but they were disorganized and terrified. They had never faced boarding action. No enemy had ever gotten close enough to try. Hana led her team through the corridors, clearing room after room. Valari soldiers fell before human fury. The fighting was brutal and personal. Knives and fists when guns ran empty. Humanity's ancient skills of violence, refined over millions of years, proved devastatingly effective. In 2 hours, the ship was captured. Hana stood on the bridge, looking at the alien controls she did not understand. "Get the scientists up here," she said. "We have a lot to learn." The ship was renamed the Soul. It was humanity's first starship. When Commander Torek received the report that one of his vessels had been captured by humans who had literally ridden a rocket into space and taken it by force, he did not believe it at first. He demanded confirmation. He received it. The humans had a warship. For the first time in his long career, Torek felt true despair. He finally understood what Fen had tried to tell him. These creatures were not primitives. They were something far more dangerous. They were survivors. They were adapters. They were predators who had been pretending to be prey, and now they were coming for him. In her bunker, Yunbi worked frantically to understand the captured ship's systems. The Valari technology was advanced, but not incomprehensible. It followed rules. It used physics, and physics was universal. "I can make it work," she reported to General Cho. "Give me a week, and I will have this ship fully operational." "You have 3 days," Cho replied. "We are not done yet." Colonel Moon Ji-yun, a strategic warfare specialist who had survived the fall of the Defense Ministry, approached the general with a bold proposal. She was a small woman with sharp eyes and a mind like a blade. "We cannot just defend Earth," she said. "The Valari Grand Fleet is coming. Reinforcements. If we wait for them, we will lose everything we have gained. What do you suggest? We attack. We take the fight to them. We use the Soul, and every ship we can build, to destroy Torek's remaining fleet, before reinforcements arrive." Cho studied her. "That is insane. We have 1 ship. They have 8, Moon nodded. "Yes. But they think we are primitive. They think we cannot threaten them in space. Their arrogance is their weakness. We strike fast, we strike hard, and we show the galaxy that humanity is not to be challenged." The general was silent for a long moment. Then he smiled. "I like it. Begin planning Operation Retribution." Over the next 3 days, humanity worked miracles. Engineers modified 200 aircraft to function in space, using captured Valari technology and pure human ingenuity. They would not survive long in combat. They were barely more than missiles with pilots, but they would hurt the enemy. Yunbi cracked the secrets of the Soul and trained a crew to operate it. Yuri mass-produced plasma weapons and installed them on every vessel that would carry them. Hyunwoo prepared more viruses, ready to cripple additional enemy ships. The entire planet mobilized for the final battle. Factories that had been silent for months roared back to life. Workers who had lost everything labored around the clock. Scientists who had studied peacefully now designed weapons of war, and in the hearts of every human, a single thought burned. We will not lose. We cannot lose. We are humanity, and we do not know how to surrender. General Cho broadcast a message to the resistance worldwide. "My brothers and sisters. 4 months ago, they came to our world. They burned our cities. They murdered our families. They called us primitive and expected us to bow. But we did not bow. We fought. We bled. We learned. And now we are going to take back our sky. This is not the end. This is the beginning." Humanity rises. Across the planet, billions of survivors heard his words. They raised their fists. They shouted their defiance. They prepared for the final battle. Commander Torek looked at Earth below and wondered where everything had gone wrong. He would find out soon enough. The stars above Earth had watched humanity's birth. They had witnessed the first fires, the first cities, the first wars. Now they watched as humanity rose to claim its place among them. General Cho Sung-jin stood in the command center, surrounded by screens showing the final preparations. 200 modified spacecraft waited in hidden launch sites across the planet. The Sol floated in low orbit, its crew ready, its weapons armed, and behind him, the combined commanders of every nation on Earth waited for his order. He opened a communication channel to the Valari fleet. Commander Torek. This is General Cho Sung-jin of the United Earth Defense Force. You came to our world. You killed our families. You burned our cities. And you called us primitive. Now we are coming for you. He closed the channel. Launch everything. Operation Retribution began. 200 human vessels rose from Earth's surface like angry bees from a hive. They were not pretty. They were not elegant. Some were modified passenger planes. Some were cargo rockets with weapons strapped to their sides. Some were barely more than fuel tanks with engines. But they flew. And they fought. Captain Yoon Ha-na commanded the Sol from its bridge. The alien system still felt strange under her hands. But she had learned them. She had mastered them. She would use them to destroy the creatures who had taken everything from her. All vessels. This is the Sol. Break into attack groups. Remember your training. Hit hard. Move fast. Stay alive. The human fleet scattered in patterns the Valari tactical computers could not predict. Torek's ships opened fire. But the small human vessels dodged and weaved through the plasma beams. The Valari were used to fighting enemies who flew in formation, who followed predictable paths, who played by rules. Humans had no rules. Lieutenant Shin Hyun-woo launched his next wave of viruses. 2 more Valari ships went dark. Their systems corrupted. Their crews panicking. The remaining 6 ships faced 200 attackers alone. The battle was chaos. Human pilots died by the dozens. Their fragile vessels exploding against Valari shields. But for every human that fell, 10 more took their place. And those who survived learned. They learned where the shields were weakest. They learned when to attack and when to retreat. They learned how to kill. Engineer Kim Yu-ri had designed special missiles for this battle. They carried concentrated UV radiation, Valari poison, packed into warheads the size of footballs. When they penetrated enemy hulls, they did not just explode. They turned entire sections of the ship into death zones. Ha-na guided the Sol directly at Torek's flagship. Plasma beams lanced out, scoring hits on the larger vessel. The flagship returned fire, but Ha-na was too fast, too unpredictable. She flew like she had nothing to lose. Because she didn't. Prepare boarding teams, she ordered. We are taking that ship. Sergeant Bae Dong-soo led the assault. His team had trained for this in simulators, fighting through mock-ups of Valari ships, learning the layouts, memorizing the weaknesses. Now they flew across the void in small transport craft, heading straight for the enemy flagship. The Valari tried to stop them. Point defense weapons cut down half the transports before they reached the hull. Dong-soo watched friends die in the vacuum of space, their bodies floating away into the darkness. He felt grief, but he did not stop. He could not stop. His transport crashed through the flagship's hull, embedding itself in the metal like a bullet in flesh. Dong-soo and his remaining soldiers poured out, weapons blazing. The fighting inside was brutal. Valari soldiers were taller, stronger, and better armed, but they had never fought hand-to-hand. They had never experienced war up close. Humans had been killing each other since the dawn of time. This was nothing new. Dong-soo moved through the corridors like a force of nature. His plasma rifle ran dry, so he grabbed an alien weapon and kept firing. When that ran dry, he used his knife. When his knife broke, he used his fists. He painted the walls purple with alien blood, room by room, corridor by corridor. The humans advanced. Valari soldiers fled in terror. They had never seen anything like this. They had never faced creatures who fought with such savage determination, such absolute refusal to die. Commander Torek watched the tactical display as his ship was invaded. He watched his soldiers fall. He watched his empire's greatest shame unfold in real time. "Impossible," he whispered. "This is impossible." But it was happening. General Cho Sung-jin's voice came over the communication channel. Broadcast to all Valari ships, "Your fleet is broken. Your soldiers are dead. Your commander will be captured within the hour. This is your only chance to surrender. Take it, or die, one by one." The remaining Valari ships powered down their weapons. They surrendered. For the first time in 4,000 years of conquest, the Valari Empire had lost a war. Dongsu reached the bridge. The doors were sealed, but Yuri's explosives fixed that problem. The blast tore the doors apart, and human soldiers flooded into the command center. Torek stood alone. His guards were dead. His crew had fled. He faced the human sergeant with empty hands and broken pride. "How?" Torek demanded. "How did you do this? You are primitives. You have no technology. You have nothing." Dongsu stepped forward, his face covered in dust and blood, his eyes burning with cold fire. "We have something you never understood," he said. "We have will. We have stubbornness. We have 10,000 years of practice at refusing to die. You bombed us. You killed our children. And you expected us to give up." He grabbed Torek by his uniform and shoved him against the wall. "We are humanity. We do not give up. We get angry. And you just made us angrier than we have ever been." Torek was taken prisoner. His flagship was captured. The battle for Earth was over, but humanity was not done. Colonel Moon Ji-yeon proposed sending a message to the approaching Grand Fleet. They had captured Velari faster than light communication technology. They could reach the reinforcements before they arrived. General Cho approved the plan. Dr. Park Eun-bi supervised the recording. They compiled footage of the battle. The destroyed Valari ships, the captured flagship, the prisoner commander, the human soldiers celebrating in the ruins of the alien fleet. And at the end, a simple message in every Valari language: "You bombed us? Cute. Watch this." The transmission launched into space, racing toward the Grand Fleet at speeds impossible to imagine. 1 year later, much had changed. Humanity had reverse-engineered Valari technology completely. They had built a proper defense fleet, 100 ships strong. They had established orbital defense platforms and early warning systems. They had formed a true world government, the United Earth Council, dedicated to preparing humanity for its future among the stars. The Grand Fleet received Earth's transmission and halted its advance. For the first time in Valari history, the Empire requested a diplomatic meeting rather than demanding surrender. Dr. Park Eun-bi led the scientific delegation, traveling aboard a human-built vessel to the meeting point. Captain Yoon Ha-na commanded the escort fleet, a squadron of warships crewed by veterans of the liberation. General Cho Sung-jin remained on Earth, overseeing the defense forces. The Valari delegation was nervous. Their diplomats had never negotiated with a species that had defeated them. They offered peace. They offered trade. They offered to leave Earth alone forever. Yoon-bi smiled politely and shook her head. "We are not interested in peace," she said. "Not yet. First, we want answers. How many species did you exterminate? How many worlds did you cleanse? Give us the records. Give us the names. Let us know the full extent of what you have done." The Valari diplomats exchanged worried glances. "And then?" one of them asked. "And then we will decide what comes next. Perhaps peace. Perhaps justice. Perhaps something else entirely." She leaned forward, her eyes cold. "You thought we were insects. You thought we would be easy prey. You were wrong. Humanity has entered the galaxy now, and we have a long memory. We will never forget what you did to us, and we will never let it happen to anyone else." The diplomats had no response. Humanity had become something the universe had never seen before. Not victims, not conquerors. Something new. A species forged in fire, hardened by loss, united by purpose. A species that looked at the stars not with fear, but with hunger. The galaxy would learn to respect them, or the galaxy would learn to fear them. Either way, humanity was here to stay. Back on Earth, monuments rose from the ruins. 800 million names carved in stone, remembered forever. Cities rebuilt, stronger than before. Children born into a world that had faced extinction and survived. General Cho, now old and gray, visited the memorial in Seoul on the anniversary of the invasion. He stood before the endless rows of names and bowed his head. "We made it," he whispered. "We survived, and we will never forget." A young child walked up to him, curious. "Sir, are you the general who saved Earth?" Cho smiled and shook his head. "No, child. I am just one man. Earth was saved by all of us. Every soldier who fought, every scientist who worked, every person who refused to give up hope. We saved each other." He looked up at the sky, where human ships now patrolled freely. "And now we go forward. Together. Always together." The child nodded solemnly, not fully understanding but sensing the weight of the moment. Above them, the stars waited, and humanity was ready.